Today on Max Kelly's Vegan Cooking Show, we're going to be making pad Prik Khing with homemade red curry paste. Before we start making the curry paste, it's important to make sure we have all the necessary ingredients. They can be a little difficult to source, and if you can't find them, you're better off using canned curry paste, which can still yield delicious results. I'll put a timestamp in the description so you can skip ahead if you decide to go this route. The easiest ingredients to find are 2 small shallots and 5 cloves of garlic. Moving up slightly in difficulty, we have a stalk of fresh lemongrass. Frozen is fine, but avoid dried or that weird stuff that comes in a tube. Next we have some chilies. Traditionally these would be Thai spur chilies, but here I'm using 2 fresh bird's eye chilies for some added heat and color, along with 4 guajillo chilies, which have a similar flavor to spurs but are a bit milder. I'll be posting some more chili alternatives in the description as well. Next we have some fresh galangal. Fresh is ideal, but frozen can work well too. I'd like to take this time to answer some common questions about galangal. Can I use ginger instead? No. How about dried galangal? No. What about no? Seriously, if you can't find fresh or frozen, it's not worth the effort to make the curry paste yourself. I'm also using a small piece of fresh turmeric root. You can substitute about a teaspoon of the powder or just leave it out altogether if you prefer. We have some makrut lime leaves as well. If you can get your hands on fresh makrut lime, add the zest to your curry paste. They're especially difficult to find, and regular lime zest isn't a good substitute, so don't worry if you can't. Fresh lime leaves are best, frozen will work fine, and dried are unacceptable. Notice a pattern? We'll be adding most of these later in the cooking process, but one leaf can add a nice floral aroma to your curry paste. We also have a few pieces of fresh cilantro root. This can be difficult to come by, but thankfully the thicker stems of fresh cilantro make a great substitute. Start by peeling away the tough exterior of your lemongrass and trimming both ends. You can save the tough parts to steep into a tea or add a little extra flavor to a soup or stock. Slice your trimmed lemongrass into thin coins. Next, trim your shallots and slice them thinly, and do the same for your garlic. The more finely we chop everything now, the less work we'll have to do later with the mortar and pestle. Next, peel your turmeric with a spoon like you would fresh ginger, and give it a rough chop as well. Galangal is a little tougher, so you'll probably want to use a vegetable peeler to get the skin off. Finish by giving a nice rough chop to your cilantro roots and lime leaf. It's always a good idea to wear gloves when working with chilies. For the fresh ones, cut off the stems, split them, remove most of the seeds, and slice them. For the dried ones, give them a quick rinse, remove the stems and seeds as well, and tear them into small pieces. Transfer them to a heat-proof bowl or measuring cup, and cover them with boiling water for at least 10 minutes. In the meantime, start mashing your ingredients in a large granite mortar and pestle. You can use a food processor if you have a smaller prep bowl, but the mortar and pestle is especially useful for small quantities like this, and produces better results in general. Again, as long as you make sure to find a vegan version with no shrimp paste in it, there's no shame in using canned curry paste instead. Add a little salt to help break up the ingredients and draw out some moisture. Keep pounding and scraping the ingredients down the sides of the mortar, then after about 5 or 10 minutes add your fresh chilies. Keep going until you see them start to break up, then drain your dried chilies and give them a quick rinse with some cold water. If you add them when they're still hot, you'll risk dulling the flavor of your other ingredients. Throw them all in at once and mash them until you get a fairly smooth paste. It's fine to have a few large or irregularly sized pieces of pepper or lemongrass, but you want a mostly homogeneous mixture. Most curry paste uses roasted shrimp paste for an extra savory layer, so to approximate that, we're using a half teaspoon of smoked paprika and a teaspoon of Vegemite, Marmite, or concentrated vegan stock. You can skip this step and just add a bit more salt if you prefer. Don't worry too much about under-seasoning your curry paste though, as we'll be adjusting the salt level of the finished dish either way. Once everything is mixed together, transfer your paste to a non-reactive container, cover, and refrigerate for up to 3 days. You can also freeze the paste, but it tastes best fresh. This recipe makes 5 ounces, or a little over 1 standard can, but feel free to scale everything up if you want extra or if you're cooking for a crowd. You can use this curry paste to make soupy or red Thai curry with coconut milk, but one of my favorite dishes to make in the summertime is pad Prik Khing, a dry, coconut-free curry with green beans and protein, in this case fried tofu. Start by washing about a pound of fresh green beans and cut them into roughly inch-long pieces. Set those aside and cut a few of your lime leaves into thin slices. Next, we're going to prepare some tofu. I like super firm because it already has most of the water removed, but well-drained firm or extra firm will work too. Cut your tofu widthwise into about 9 equal slabs, cut the slabs in half, then cut the halves in the diagonal to make triangles. You can use rectangles or cubes, but triangles are my favorite shape for this recipe. We're going to be frying the tofu today, but if you'd rather bake it, check out my Kung Pao tofu recipe or drunken noodles recipe for a great baked crispy tofu guide. Place your triangles in a medium mixing bowl and add about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and a pinch or 2 of kosher salt. Toss everything to combine, then heat about 1/4 inch of oil in a sturdy pan or cast iron skillet over medium heat. Once the oil is hot and a piece of tofu starts to bubble as soon as you put it in, add as much tofu as you can fit and begin frying. Don't overcrowd the pan and work in batches if necessary. Fry until golden brown, about 7 minutes per side, and place on a plate lined with paper towel to drain. Frying is a little bit of extra work, but just listen to how crispy that tofu is. Once you're done with the tofu, the dish comes together very quickly. Heat some oil in a wok over medium-high heat. You can just use a few tablespoons of the leftover frying oil if you'd like. Add all of your curry paste and saute until it's aromatic and darkens a shade. Stir it frequently to keep it from burning, and add some extra oil if it gets too dry. Now add your green beans and saute them for a few minutes until they're bright green and still have some snap left. Now add your tofu, toss it to coat everything in curry paste, and give it a taste. Use soy sauce or salt to balance the savoriness, and add a little sugar as well if you'd like. Ideally this would be palm sugar, but coconut or regular brown sugar are fine too. Finish with your sliced lime leaves, cut the heat, and serve with steamed white jasmine rice. Enjoy!